Today in our lesson we will work on our intermediate course, and here we have first unit, fourth part 1.4, speaking and writing. Here our goals are ask for and give opinions, write for social media, speaking and listening, asking for and giving opinions. Exercise 1. Look at the photos. Which of these do you think could be described as guilt-free brands? Discuss your ideas with a partner. Here we have to understand what is a guilt-free brand. A guilt-free brand is presumably a brand that doesn't sacrifice any environmental issues, doesn't harm environment, doesn't harm humans, and is just working ethically and providing value to other people in ethical ways without exploitation of nature, environment, and other people. Now pause the video and try to do this exercise in a written form. Now let's just look at the possible answer. In my opinion, Tesla electric cars are the most guilt-free brands around the world, one of the most guilt-free brands, and the reason for that is that, well, Tesla is helping the environment, reducing the carbon dioxide that is being emitted into the atmosphere. They're working on AI, electronics, and they're just advancing technology, environmental protection, and morality, and other things also. Exercise 2a. Listen to your radio program about guilt-free brands and check your ideas. Exercise 2b. Listen again and make notes in the table. Here we have reasons people might feel guilty about why they buy, arguments in favor of guilt-free brands, arguments against guilt-free brands. Pause the video and try to fill this table on your own.
Audio 1.11.
It seems like every day we find another reason to feel guilty about what we buy. Maybe it's food that we know isn't good for us, or clothes which are made by poorly paid workers, or products which are damaging the environment. Manufacturers know we feel this way, and the latest trend is for so-called guilt-free brands, brands which claim to be better for us, for workers, and for the planet, so that we can buy them and not feel guilty. Sounds great, but is it as good as it sounds? With us today we have Gosha Schlachter and Jem Norris, both members of the same environmental group, but with very different views on the idea of guilt-free brands. So Jem, what do you think about the idea?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, anything which makes people think more about what they're buying is a good idea. Take the Fairphone, for example. Until that was produced, most people didn't even realise how bad conditions were for electronics workers in many parts of the world. Now there's a lot more awareness.
There's a lot more awareness, but don't you think it would be better if people understood that there is no need at all to keep buying new phones? There seems to be an idea that you have to have a new phone every 2 years. I'm convinced that if people really understood how much damage this causes to workers and to the planet, they wouldn't do this. I think people should feel guilty. Producing guilt-free brands just gives people an excuse not to think about these issues and just keep buying more and more stuff.
Well, according to the people who make Fairphone, their phones will last longer and be easier to repair. If you ask me, we have to give people the option of buying something which is better for the planet, not just say they shouldn't buy something at all.
Now let's look at the suggested answers. Reasons people might feel guilty about what they buy. We know the food isn't good for us. We know that those who make these things are very badly paid. Some of the products cause harm to the environment. Arguments in favor of guilt-free brands. They provide customers who feel guilty about some products with an alternative. They make us think about what we are buying. Arguments against guilt-free brands are, if more products are available, customers are going to buy even more new products, for example phones, when it doesn't seem necessary. If people are more aware of the harm these products cause, they might buy fewer newer items. Producing guilt-free brands helps people not to think about the problems. Exercise 2c. Which speaker do you agree with more, Gosha or Jem? Why? Discuss with your partner. Pause the video and try to answer this question in a written form. Well, now let's look at the possible answers. In my opinion, Jem is more optimal here. Jem's opinions are more optimal and he's more objective and logical. The reason for this is that, well, people won't stop buying products. It's the nature of people. We just crave for more. And here, the best solution is not to restrict humans, which is really hard to do and which is almost impossible because humans have, like, it's against human rights because it's their money, they can do anything with them. And that's why we have to find alternatives. We have to try to create alternatives for people who want to protect the environment or who want to, well, improve or encourage or, well, support guilt-free brands. Exercise 3A, complete the phrases from the conversation. Pause the video and try to do this exercise on your own. Now let's look at the answers. 1. So Jem, what do you think about the idea? Well, 2. Well, as far as I'm concerned, anything which makes people think. 3. There's a lot more awareness, but don't you think it would be better if? 4. I'm convinced that if people really understood. 5. Well, according to the people who make Fairphone. 6. If you ask me, we have to give people the option. Exercise 3B, listen and check your answers one more time.
Audio 1.12. 1,
So, Jem, what do you think about the idea?
2,
Well, as far as I'm concerned, anything which makes people think.
3,
There's a lot more awareness, but don't you think it would be better if?
4,
I'm convinced that if people really understood.
5,
Well, according to the people who make Fairphone.
6,
If you ask me, we have to give people the option.
Exercise 4A, divide the phrases in the exercise 3 into 3 categories. Giving your opinion, talking about other people's opinion, asking for someone's opinion. Pause the video and try to do this exercise on your own in a written form. Now let's look at the answers. Giving your opinion, yes. As far as I'm concerned, I'm convinced if you ask me. Talking about other people's opinions, it is according to. Asking for someone's opinion is, what do you think about? Don't you think? Exercise 4B. Check your answers in the language for speaking box. Here you have to check your answers one more time. Language for speaking, asking for and giving opinions. Now we just work on everything related to opinions. Giving your opinions. As far as I'm concerned, I'm convinced, I'm certain. If you ask me personally, talking about other people's opinions, some people say, according to someone, asking for someone's opinion. Negative questions. We expect someone to agree, don't you think? Shouldn't. Other ways, what do you think about? What are your views on? How do you feel about? Exercise 5. Complete the conversation with appropriate phrases from the language for speaking box. Compare your ideas with a partner. Here we have to look at the language for speaking box one more time and try to complete the conversation using the words from there. And after this, you have to compare your ideas with your partner. Pause the video and try to do this exercise on your own. Now let's look at the answers. 1. What do you think of the fact that guilt-free brands are often more expensive? B. As far as I'm concerned, or if you ask me, it's fine to pay a bit more to know that the environment isn't being harmed. 2. A. Most of us can afford electric cars. Don't you think people who buy electric cars are showing off how rich they are rather than actually caring about the planet? B. You may be right, but I'm convinced, I'm certain, some people say that according to someone, everyone will drive electric cars in the future. 3A. As far as I'm concerned, I'm convinced, I'm certain, we should just buy less stuff. What do you think about that? If you ask me, as far as I'm concerned, I'm convinced, I'm certain that that's a good idea. We all have more than we really need. 4. Shouldn't the government make electric cars less expensive so everyone can afford one? Yes, definitely. Exercise 6. Ask your partner for their opinions on the questions in exercise 5. Here you just have to look at your partner and ask his opinion on these statements. Reading and writing. Social media. Exercise 7. Read the post from social media page. Have your say. Which of the following statements do you agree with? Discuss with the partner. Here, pause the video and with your partner discuss these statements and give your own opinion. Now let's look at the possible answers. Not everyone can afford to buy more expensive clothes. Well, I agree with that, and they shouldn't want to buy the same because like clothes are the same. They may just have some kind of brand on it, but just in general, it's just a function of clothes. Just you just keep warm. 2. Fashion changes quickly, so it's important to be able to buy cheap clothes you can throw away when they go out of fashion. I just definitely disagree with this opinion because if you throw away your clothes, it's just gonna be bad for the environment. You're gonna contribute to pollution. 3. If you don't buy clothes made in poor countries, you are putting people out of work. Well, I don't necessarily agree with it because if like people find job for themselves, if they get jobless, like they get unemployed, they can learn, they can retrain themselves to do better jobs. 4. It should be easier to find out which companies look after their workers properly. Well, it should be easier because some companies are unethical and they take advantage of their workers, so it's really important. 5. People buy far too many things these days. I agree with that. Consumerism is really happening and we don't need the products that we are buying now, and it's just unnecessary waste that is mostly damaging the environment. Exercise 8. Now read the comments underneath the post and match them to the statements in exercise 7. Now you have to read the comments and just put the statement in exercise 7 as it's said here. Exercise 9. Read the information in the language or writing box and write the comments as full sentences. After reading this thing, try to use these comments in full sentences. Language for writing. Informal language for social media. Here we just have a look at the language that we use in messages that we use in social media. When we write for social media, we often miss words out, especially grammar words such as a, the, I, my, yes, am, yet. For example, sitting on bed. I am sitting on bed. So when we are using language in our social media messages, we try to achieve as much efficiency as possible and try to be fast. That's why we just omit the words that don't give any additional idea. Here you have sitting on bed and I am sitting on my bed. So here the word I am or my, so mostly pronouns and the word the auxiliary verbs don't give any idea, don't give any additional meaning. That's why it's just okay to omit them or leave them. Use abbreviations or short forms. Here we have to use short forms to be even faster. Instead of here you have people, with, especially, should. And use letters or numbers for words which sound the same. If the pronunciation, if the sound is the same, you can use even letters or numbers. Here you have U, R, C, 4. Exercise 10A, task. Write your comments on the post using informal language. Look at the statement one more time and write your own opinion in your comment. Exercise 10B, look at the comments written by 2 other students in your class and reply to each one using informal language. Now go to your other two group mates and read their comments and just reply their comments also. And here, you have to use language for speaking box. That's the end of our lesson. See you in the next lessons.